in picking up illicit sex techniques from their classmates than acquiring knowledge from the teachers. In India, the same thing is happening to a greater or lesser extent. Let's analyze the males and females together in the colleges and universities. All the points I mentioned for schools, they are magnified when it comes to colleges and universities. According to a report of Newsweek, which was published on 17th of March 1980, on page number 50 it said that the sexual assault of the women in the universities was given, and it said, I won't repeat the full history of that report because time is short, but the main point is that lecturers and professors, they forced the ladies into sexual harassment in exchange for a better grade. Same thing is happening in India, in Bombay. And after they're sexually harassed, but natural, the concentration to education goes low. You had incidents last year which made the headline of the paper, I've forgotten the name of the college, in which a girl student was raped in the broad daylight by 4 or 5 students in the college premises. And out, according to a report which came day before yesterday in the Times of India on the 26th of August, it repeated the report of New York Times. It said that 25% of the ladies that go to schools and universities in America are raped. My basic question is, do you want to send your child to a school to get educated, or do you want to send your child to the school to pick up illicit techniques or be sexually harassed? If it's the first, I would advise you to put them in unisex schools, and there are several of them in the city. Hope that answers the question.
I have an announcement to make. I would just like to inform you regarding this session. We have outside available for sale videotapes of Dr. Zakir Naik, which are available for sale at a discounted price of rupees 150 each. The topics covered are this cassette of the Bombay Union of Journalists debate on Is Religious Fundamentalism a Stumbling Block in the Freedom of Expression, when he spoke along with Dr. Vyas and Father Pereira, a Jesuit expert. Then we have Religion in the Right Perspective, given at a place in Nariman Point. We have Islam, the Universal Religion, at Mani Bhavan, organized by the Bombay Sarvodaya Mandal, and Al-Quran, Should It Be Read with Meaning, lecture given at the SNDT University Hall, Juhu. These are available for sale outside. We also have the Holy Quran, which is available on a hadiyah, a nominal hadiyah of rupees 150 each. This is the English Quran with the text and English translation by Abdullah Yusuf Ali along with its commentary. We know that we have quite a lot of questions coming up. There's a lot of interest, enthusiasms, but at the same time, I have to be pragmatic. We have our time limitations. We have with us next 10 to 15 minutes in which we have to complete this session. I would request we'll allow one question from this end, the next on the top, third year, and I think it's a women rights session. We'll end with the lady on the top. In between, it will be interspersed with brief questions from the chits that I've received. Those who are interested in having further questions, I would like to inform them on this subject or on any subject of Islam and comparative religion. You are most welcome to attend our lectures, followed by question and answers, maybe in a smaller setting, on Fridays at 2:45 p.m. for ladies, every Friday that is, and every Saturday at 2:45 p.m. open for all, and on Sundays at 10:45 a.m. open for all, Muslims, non-Muslims, all are welcome, and in a very cordial and open atmosphere you are allowed to criticize, cross-examine, and openly discuss Islam and its values without offending the speaker or yourself. If you feel you can better educate that lecturer or the talkers there, we would be happy to be corrected, and we hope in the same spirit you would be able to discuss with a very open mind the problems we face in society and the world in general. And the next question, please.
Dr. Naik, my question is, for last 1400 years, 1400 years, only male ulamas have interpreted Quran and Hadith. Of course, I was enlightened by your speech in the beginning that Aisha ji was a religious scholar and she used to interpret. My question is, how many women, female ulemas or religious scholars are today to interpret Quran and Hadith? Today, how many? What is the percentage? And another thing, I'm finishing. This question arises from the Taslima of Bengal, that when she narrated something, Maulvi started shouting. There was not a lady ulema to, reply to these Maulvis or take the side of Taslima or anything. We have not read what Taslima said because we can't get all the literature here in India, either from Pakistan or from Bengal or anywhere. So we would like to read.
Excuse me, I'd like you to ask directly. Excuse me, gentlemen. I'd like you to ask directly the question regarding Taslima Nasreen. What you would like to know? Ask the question directly.
Don't interview. Please, I'll make it short. I'm not. How many lady ulemas are there today to interpret Quran and Hadith, and what is the percentage in comparison to male? Thank you very much.
Uncle has asked a question that he agrees that at the time of the Prophet, there were many ladies who not only interpreted the hadiths, they memorized. And Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she herself has narrated on her authority itself only 2,210 hadiths are based only on her authority. The basic question is, how many ulamas, women do you have today? He wants to know the percentage. There are several lady ulamas, and there are many Muslim organizations in Bombay as well as in Darul Ulum, in Nadwa, etc. in several places, as I saw Manatis in Bombay, several Muslim organizations which produce lady ulama. Percentage I don't know, but there are hundreds. Why didn't any, regarding my second part of the question, why didn't any lady support the cause for Taslima Nasreen? The first question arises, should she be supported? Regarding the answer for the question of Taslima Nasreen, this cassette is available outside in the foyer. This cassette, we had a debate in the Bombay Union of Journalists. Had a debate between myself and Dr. Vyas and Father Pereira as well as Ashok Shahani, who translated into Marathi Lajja. And many people objected, many people guided me that don't go to that debate, it will be a problem. They will misquote you, and believe me, I had two minds. But finally my father guided me, take the name of Allah and go, and I went. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, it was only because of Allah's support that the debate was successful. It was so successful that not a single paper reported it. You know that? Not a single paper. There was the Times of India. There was the Indian Express. There was Mahanagar. Nikhil Wagle himself was there. There was UTI.
He's here today, Nikhil Wagle.
There were PTIs also there. No one reported. Why? Because I did not say what they wanted. If I would have said what they wanted, it would have been headlines. Islamic scholar Dr. Zakir Naik and so and so. Because I didn't say what they wanted, no report. For the full answer, the cassette is available outside.
The last three questions. Is it only the husband? This is from Jennifer. It says, is it only the husband who can say triple talaq and get one? What has a woman to do if she wants to get divorce or talaq?
The sister has asked a question that a husband can divorce a woman. She has not asked about triple talaq, that's another answer. But the main question is, a husband can divorce. Can a woman also divorce? Or can she give talaq? A woman can't give talaq, because talaq is an Arabic word used for divorce when a man gives to a woman, husband gives to a wife. But